Shalom. Baruch Haba, Coram Lee Anthony. Hello and welcome. They call me Anthony. Thank you so much for joining us here at Sarid for our weekly Torah teaching on the coming of Adonai Yahushua HaMashiach. The word of Yahuwah for the Yedut is truly amazing and powerful, and we give him all praise, honor, and esteem for it, and to be able to share it with you. And we trust that you have benefited from the survey on the lines. The message has been truly powerful, and today's message is no different, as Mosheh now begins to give us a history lesson regarding the Nazir. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Devarim chapter 32, we'll be looking at verse 7 and 8, followed by the witness over in Yochanan, chapter 18, verse 7 through 10. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Then he asked them again, "Whom are you seeking?" And they said, "Yahushua the Naziyr." As we pick up the witness from last week, all those who came to apprehend Yahushua was on the ground, in fear for their lives, having heard that they were standing in the presence of the Nazir, who had grown in power since the legend about his birth. He himself confessed to them that he, in fact, was the Nazir, and he said it with power and authority. "I am he." And they were on the ground silent in his presence for this history lesson that Moshe is now beginning to sing about. To you, these are the people who are posing as Bnei Yisrael for this witness, a seed of metonymy, false prophets. They have come with Yehuda ish Kiryah, Shimon's ben, who betrayed him. Moshe is rebuking them. They're sitting there remembering the days of old, the days when all that chaos occurred because of the child's birth. The ruling authorities had managed to put an evil spin on the legend, and so Yahushua became notoriously infamous. That is to say, well known for some bad quality or deed, made to be wicked and abominable. And that is what they remembered. We know the king was angry because the wise men did not report back to him as he wanted them to. They went another way, being warned by Elohim in a dream. And so the king became exceedingly angry, and most likely put out a bad report so as to make people have no remorse about killing innocent children. That's when all the death began to happen. So they are remembering those days. By now it had been only about 30 years since the event occurred, and they more than likely, because of the written account of Joseph fleeing to Mitzrayim, continued to murder innocent male children for quite some time afterward. So the search was ongoing because they remembered enough to bring troops to apprehend him. But now they have found him, thanks to Yehuda, the one who betrayed him. Now they were in the presence of the Nazir, face to face and gripped by fear, stunned by his presence. So much so that Yochanan records he had to ask them again, "Whom are you seeking?" before they said, "Yahushua the Nazir." Again, because he had confessed to being the Nazir with such power and authority the first time, it appears they had to gather themselves being on the ground. Only now they were gripped by the remembrance of those terrible times because of Yahushua the Nazir. This is what they were considering about the one whom they were seeking. This is what was on their mind. It was the years of many generations, seen in the survey that Mosheh is singing about in the top line there. This is a history lesson about the legend, again, of Yahushua the Naziyr. The word for years is Shaneh. H8171 is a division or period of time. It is the period of time everything about the event occurred. The many generations, Towrah here, H1755, is generations. In parentheses, it reads, those living during a period of time. So they're sitting there considering all the death and destruction that happened during that period of time. Because the king during that period of time, as I mentioned, was out to kill all the male children in Beth-lehem and in all the districts from 2 years old and under. A lot of them died. Future generations were lost. This is what Mosheh is singing about in the verse. Years of many generations. It went on for years. You know it did because the verse in Matthew chapter 2, you don't have to turn there, chapter 2:15 reads, then Herodes, when he saw that he was deceived by the wise men, was exceedingly angry and went forth and put to death all the male children who were in Beth-lehem and in all the districts from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had determined from the wise men. It's a very important verse. So this went on for some time afterward. That verse indicates the likelihood of a decree that had gone out. A measuring stick of age, if you will. It was a systematic killing. Everyone found later that was born in that time frame became at risk for apprehension by the government with the potential for loss of life. And of course, the words of the Nabi Yirmiyahu appears in those verses as a second witness to verify the fulfillment of the deaths of the children. As it is written in chapter 31, verse 15 of his prophecy, thus says Yahuwah, a voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted for her children, because they are no more. A lot of death during that time. Ask your Ab, and he will show you. Yahushua answered, I have told you that I am he. He was the reason they died. Ask your Ab, and he will show you. The authorities were looking for Yahushua, and they were killing every infant in that age group, as we covered. Of course, wasn't his fault. He was born the Nazir. They were trying to kill him by killing every baby born in that time frame. They were just systematically trying to find him. These were extraordinary times. As we survey the line, Mosheh says, ask your Ab. Yahushua is seen as the Ab here. H1, he was the originator or ancestor. We looked at this last video. A father as we know it. Also the head or founder of something is in the definition. He was the Nazir foretold to come. There's only one. He's the founder of it. The word Nazir uniquely defines the nature of him. It was not like ours. It was something he fathered. Mosheh speaks and says, ask your Ab. He's standing right in front of you. Ask your father, your Nazir, the one you came for, and he will show you. And this Yahushua does in the answer of the written account down in Yochanan by saying, I have told you that I am he. He was standing right before them, showing himself to them, having stepped into the light already. Just like Mosheh said in the song, he will show you. I have told you that I am he. Your elders, and they will tell you, when Elyon divided their inheritance to the nations. Therefore, if you seek me, let these go their way, that the same might be fulfilled which he spoke, of those whom you gave me, I have lost none. The elders are the older ones according to the definition, Zaken, the ones having authority. These are the ones who are speaking. Mosheh said, they will tell you. So I am part of they here bringing you this witness, speaking to you who are listening about what Yahushua is now saying in the verse. He's the other elder. Together we are they. He was speaking down in Yochanan when he said, therefore, if you seek me, let these go their way. Right here in the story, they are divided. This is when the Most High, Elyon, divided the inheritance. That word for divided, H5157, is nachal. And it means to acquire. It is twofold, to get as a possession and to give as a possession. This is used figuratively of testimonies in the definition. The testimony is of Chayim Olam, everlasting life. This is the inheritance. It was theirs. They describe what it was and what is needed to attain it. It was witnessed to in the prayer. In fact, all of this is witnessing to that prayer. All of this is in reference to what he spoke in prayer to the Most High, Elyon. We covered this in the last video, or the one before that. This word divide is a springboard for this survey, beginning here. As we continue on the line, it gets more detailed. When the Most High divided there, as divided is twofold, so is the word there, meaning belonging to or associated with the people or things previously mentioned or easily identified. Yahushua is part of their possession. He is of Hebrew origin. This is twofold. He is the first fold in this divide. The word we looked at, which means to get as a possession and to give as a possession. This is the word for divide. This is figuratively used, as I mentioned, of testimonies. He gets it to give to others who associate in the Hebrew. So it's theirs. This is their inheritance, the thing that they possess, the knowledge of it in Scripture. The Most High is now dividing it to the nations, the Goim. You see it in the survey line. Yahushua says to the Goim, therefore, if you seek me, let these go their way. They are being separated for the witness. Yahushua must first accomplish something that the taught ones will bear witness to for salvation. They can't go with him on this part. So he says, let these go their way. So they're divided among the nations. These are the arresting authorities that have come to apprehend them. And if you notice, once again, the word is clearly identifying the ones who have come up against Yahushua and his taught ones as the Goim, Gentiles, the nations. They're not the true people here in the story as most believe. Yahuwah is not going to let his own people have a hand in destroying the everlasting life he promised to them. Again, the nations are being used for that. So as we continue, Yahushua is part of their inheritance. His name is of Hebrew origin, and it is needed for Chaim Olam. So he is speaking here in the verse. This is spiritual in its nature. Remember, Yahushua still has to fight that epic battle that he alone has to face in returning to the Most High in the Shemayim, where he will sit on the throne of victory. Meanwhile, the taught ones have to bear witness to the works of Yahuwah Elohim to the nations here on earth about what Yahushua is going to do and the good news of what it means for salvation. Their inheritance or possession of everlasting life is divided for a testimony, according to the word for divide. So the nations can be saved from the certain destruction that lurks in darkness, if they believe. Also, before he does this, Yahushua at this point is relieving himself of the responsibility of the Lamudim because of what he must do alone. He won't be able to assist them until his victory is complete. So it records in Yochanan that the same might be fulfilled which he spoke, of those whom you gave me, I have lost none. Again, this is in reference to the prayer. It's playing out right now. This is what Yahushua spoke in prayer back at the beginning of this song of Mosheh. These were the men Yahuwah gave him out of the world. And you can see that reference in Yochanan chapter 17, verse 16 through 12. They had just finished praying about it, and at this point they were all together as one in the belief, and none were lost, except the son of perdition, that the scripture might be fulfilled. He, of course, was now with them. When he separated the Banim of Adam. So all this is going down right now. Then Shimon Petrus, having a sword, drew it and struck the Kohen Hagadol's servant. When he separated the Banim of Adam, H120 in the definition is the first man, Ish. This is seen in Yochanan when Shimon Petrus, having a sword, drew it and struck the Kohen Hagadol's servant. The servant was the first man to get separated. He here is the word of Elohim overseeing another he, Shimon Petrus. The word oversaw it, and he did it. And now Mosheh is singing about it. So let's break down this, see why he got struck. Their inheritance was divided, and that is why Shimon shows up for this part. This is the earthly part of their inheritance, the testimony, because the reaction is physical. He drew a sword and struck the Kohen Hagadol's servant. No words were exchanged, as in the spiritual case where Yahushua was speaking concerning his part up above. Shimon also is of Hebrew origin, as is Yahushua. These two represent their inheritance. They were both of Hebrew origin. Elohim uses them both to line up for the Edut. They represent all of Yisrael, seen as their inheritance. It was twofold, according to the word for the divide in the top line of survey. To get and give for a possession, Yahushua, and the other for a testimony, Shimon Petrus. Okay? So Shimon here, H8095, means heard. The root is Shema, H8085, which means hear, listen, and obey. Things perceived by the ear. So the earthly part of the inheritance, which is the testimony, was divided to the nations. So Shimon Petrus is identified. Shimon is of a Greek origin. We looked at that. And the other name is Petrus. Okay? Petrus is scattered. Reference to in the Greek, Latin, Aramaic, and some other nations. We looked at those before too. All having the same meaning in Scripture. They all mean a rock. All right? Now where Yahushua is going, he will be the Kohen Hagadol of Elyon, the Most High. Shimon knows that, and this is another reason that servant was struck. The one that he serves bears a false witness, not of Ibrit blood. This is the root word for Adam. It identifies the blood, H119. So this guy is a false witness. Okay, he's a false witness of the blood. He set the boundaries of the peoples and cut off his right ear. He set the boundaries of the peoples. The word for set here, H5324, is natsab, and it means to station oneself, to take one's stand, to be set over something and established, to be appointed. This is Shimon, taking a stand, setting the boundaries. The word for boundaries is gabula. It is borders or territory. G1367, the root is identifying a region or territory of darkness in the figurative sense. This coincides with the Greek word for right. Cut off his right ear. G1188 is Dexius. This is also figuratively used. Here, metaphorically used of a place of honor or authority. The boundaries of darkness, their place of honor or authority, is seen here as cut off. Their right was cut off to the Kohen Hagadol. Their rights were cut off. The verb dechomai, G1209, the word for right, means to receive of a thing offered in speaking, teaching, instructing. To receive favorably, to give ear is in the definition. To give, that's in the definition. And that's what was cut off. The ear. You know, they will not hear the true testimony. The word for ear, G5621, Otion, also has a root word that's metaphorically used. So all of these are metaphorically speaking of something. It's a history lesson. The faculty of perceiving with the mind. This is the ear. The faculty of understanding and knowing. So the borders, the boundaries of the peoples, which is darkness, are cut off. Their understanding will not be received by the Most High. There is no darkness with Elohim at all. According to the number of Bnei Yisrael, the servant's name was Malchus. So the word for number here is H4557. It is mitzpar. Mitzpar means number or tale, story, recounting, and relation. The tale has to be told, recounting its relations to Bnei Yisrael. They are the ones who set the boundaries. It is a number of them. They have to be in the number. So for the record here, for the Yedut, it was two, Yahushua and Shimon. They are the offspring, the Banim who believe Elohim will prevail, Yisrael. This is one and the same as a testimony. Over in Yochanan, it records the servant's name was Malchus. So this is opposition. It's opposition, and not according to the number of Bnei Yisrael. So this part of the song is a stinging rebuke by Mosheh because it draws attention to the servant's name, Malchus. G3124 is a Greek word that means king or kingdom. This root is of Hebrew origin. Takes you to H4429. Word there is melech, and it means king. It also means to become king or queen, to give counsel and advice. So this guy is an advisor to the one he served on the requirements of becoming a Kohen Hagadol. He was a servant, and the Greek word there is G1401. He was a servant, and the Greek word is G1401, doulos. Sounds like dual. Sounds like this guy could go either way. Because of the Hebrew origin and the Greek there, this indicates he was using the Hebrew understanding to promote or advise the Kohen Hagadol, who is a foreigner for this account, according to the line that we already surveyed. The definition means a slave, bondman, or man of servile condition, devoted to another to the disregard of one's own interest. As I mentioned, the root is of Hebrew origin. It is also metaphorically used of one who gives himself up to another's will. Those whose service is used in extending and advancing his cause among men. So this guy is advancing the cause of a Kohen Hagadol that we already know is foreign, doulos. There will be no Greek kingdom in the Shemaim that is based on anything found in the Torah. And Shimon just took away his right. So as not to hear that again. His right ear. Now in the wilderness, in order to tend to the needs of the people before Yahuwah as Cohen, or Banim of the Cohen, a bull and 2 rams were to be offered, and the blood of one of the rams was to be applied to the tip of the right ear of Aharon and his Banim, so as to hear about the blood for the witness. Adam is here in these survey lines, and blood is the root word for Adam, the redness of it, the life. Cutting off the right ear of Malchus is the same as separating his witness, rendering his witness or testimony ineffective in the presence of the Most High, Elyon, because the blood cannot then be applied to the tip of the ear, which we already know surveyed is metaphorically used of the faculty of perceiving with the mind, of understanding and knowing. So again, from the very beginning in the garden, Yahuwah Elohim promised a seed. And here is Yahushua standing in a garden of all places for this witness with all these sons of Adam. The plan of salvation is unfolding, and the true seed was the Nazir. Was the Nazir. And everyone with the serpent who is still dwelling in Yehuda Ishkiryah is being separated, cut off by one of the greatest to ever wield a sword. Shimon and Lewi, according to the ancient records, killed all the males of a whole city for disrespect and plundered it. And here he shows up to cut off this guy's ear because Yahushua was the Nazir. And everyone else was apparently still on the ground, and this guy was too close, as evidenced by his name. So he don't hear so well now. Also in Bereshit, in Genesis chapter 49, verses 5 through 7, you can go back and read that. Yahuwah records, I'm just going to read it briefly here. Shimon and Lewi are brothers. Instruments of cruelty are in their dwelling place. Let not my soul enter their counsel. Let not my honor be united to their assembly. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they hamstrung an ox. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Yaakov and scatter them in Yisrael. Devarim chapter 32, verse 9. We'll line up with Yochanan chapter 18, verse 11. For Yahuwah's portion is his people. So Yahushua said to Petrus, put your sword into the sheath. For Yahuwah's portion, H2506, is chalech. It means share, part, or portion. An award from Elohim. So here the story gets very intimate. We've gone from Elohim to Yahuwah. Moshe having identified with the blood by mentioning Adam in the previous lines of survey. Yahuwah now comes into play and not Elohim. Same person, different function. Elohim creates, but Yahuwah gives life. Salvation. Yahushua means Yahuwah saves. He gives life everlasting. Hayim Olam. The name means life. Chaya. So Yahushua begins to speak. For Yahuwah's portion is his people. Yahushua then speaks to Petrus. These are the two representing the people for the survey on the lines. He uses the Gentile part of Shimon's name, the one that has been changed and translated to mean the same thing, a rock or a stone. Yeah, Keeper, Petrus, Petra, and different names. And this is done because if the Go'i believe in Yahushua and reflect on B'nai Yisrael, they too will be as one of the people and be saved. A stone of remembrance, if you will. He told them to put his sword into the sheath, put his fight and battle instrument away, put it into the sheath. This is not about prolonging his days here on this earth. He has another fight to wage. This is something that he has to do alone. And they were being used, the troops were, they were being used to highlight the supernatural victory that only he can achieve because of his nature as the Nazir. So the enemy doesn't know it yet, but they're really going to see something now here, something legendary. And this is what Mosheh begins to sing about, this particular portion. So put your sword into the sheath and watch this. Watch what happens from here out. In other words, I'm going to do something that will blow their mind. So put your sword into the sheath. I'll take it from here. Yaakov is the place of his inheritance. Shall I not drink the cup which my Ab has given me? Yaakov here is seen as the cup. The things in the cup are identified by the definitions that describe the circumstances connected with the inheritance in the line to survey. Yaakov, H3290, means heel holder or supplanter. The root has several definitions, and I'm going to break them down as I read them. The first means to supplant. In other words, to supersede and replace. They will replace critical information needed for everlasting life. The Goim will do that. It also means to circumvent. This means to find a way around an obstacle. This is finding another way to everlasting life. They don't like this plan, okay? It also means to take by the heel and follow at the heel. This is following what someone has already done. Took them by the heel, and they're following the story closely. The definition then goes on to say to assail insidiously, meaning this thing that they're going to do, this treachery, is going to be done over time. It also means to overreach and to hold back. All of the definitions identify treachery, tricking people. In other words, this is the beginning of that war that will be fought over time. And as it is written, Yahushua goes before us to do that. So Yaakov identifies the spiritual battle that will be waged in the hidden places over time. Evil forces will be trying to keep the generations from the truth about the truth of everlasting life, not allowing it to get out. People have found a way around it by replacing it. And this they have done by following the story closely at the heel in order to overtake it by treachery over time, so as to deceive the generations of Adam and rob them of everlasting life. Seed has come. Yaakov is the place of his inheritance. His here is both Yahuwah and his Ben Yahushua. Seen down in Yochanan when Yahushua says, "Shall I not drink the cup which my Ab has given me?" The same treachery they used to misguide the people since the story was first written about Yahushua the Naziyr. It's the same story they use to conceal. It's the same treachery they use to conceal the one who sent the Nazir. This is part of the inheritance. It's about Yahuwah's plan for salvation and the methods people use to twist it. Everlasting life. When you're this successful, you're going to have those types of enemies. This is part of the inheritance. So this is that place Mosheh is singing about in Yaakov. Amen. Quite a song. Yaakov is a place like the days of Noah, where billions of people, a flood of them, are promoting a lie about what Yahuwah Elohim has done in Yisrael through Adonai Yahushua the Naziyr. That flood of lies supplants the work of Yahuwah, changing critical parts of it over a period of time. And Satan is behind the changes using the religious authorities. Satanic influence on worldly views. Jesus. They think it's a nice thing to say. This is nothing more than the work of a supplanter and a circumventer. They found a way around the truth that everyone can accept. And saying that name is a way for the lost to be accepted by the world. They don't know that they're a part of that great flood of lies. And people are drowning by the billions, slain in the speaking, dead men walking. And of course, they don't even know it. But praise Yahuwah for his word, Sarid. Through it, we are provided a way of escape through Yahushua the Nazir. Towrah for watching with us here at Sarid. Shalom.